WTF for the Saints doing? This is from Wi-Fi Willie. Quite a few people have asked me if I watched Wi-Fi Willie or if I check out his channel. So I did 2 days ago. He has this video about the Saints. I'm assuming it'll be about Diamond Davie Ziegler, who the Saints just brought on as a consultant. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, he was with the Raiders. He was their GM. At the end of Derek Carr's tenure, he was with the Raiders for, I think, 2 years. But most of his NFL career was spent as a scout or a player development personnel guy for the New England Patriots. So, and that's the role he's taking on with the Saints. He is part of the consultant group or the council of the brain trust, if you will, for their player development, scouting, college player personnel group.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most hilarious offseason.
Holy God, I just got solar flared. Jeez, man, that was unreal. That static, like, bam, solar flare situation. I felt like I was semi-perfect Cell facing TN in Dragon Ball Z, just getting blasted with a solar flare to the dome. Man, I just got flashbanged by Wi-Fi Willie.
And moves has just happened right now.
Ooh.
This is something that is going to affect the NFL draft, in particular the New Orleans Saints and quarterback Derek Carr. Let's just say that things are about to get real awkward. The Raiders.
All right, this is a good example. If you're a YouTube creator, okay, we're going to go on a bit of a side tangent here. If I can get my bearings back after getting flashbangs. So this is what we call retention editing. All right, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great style of editing. It's not really my style of editing, but it's a style of editing where every like 4 or 5 seconds the video is transitioning, or we're introducing, you know, a transition like the static kind of thing that happened, or maybe the camera has like a slight shake to it or a slight zoom to it. That's called retention editing. So it's a style that fits a lot of videos. I like it. I don't do it, but I like it. So I see it happening with this video, so we're locked in. So I'm with you. That's just a sidebar. You know, it's just a lot of people watch the channel and they ask me questions about being a content creator. You know, being at the highest possible level of this game, and asking how to do it. You know, some pointers, some tricks, some golden tidbits. So as I see them, I like to point them out.
Former general manager Davie Ziegler was good friends with head coach Josh McDaniels, and they took over the team in 2022.
Background: everybody knows you went to John Carroll University with Josh McDaniels. Very well reported.
It was a good experience going through it with Josh. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time, but it was a cool.
Spoiler: didn't work. Okay, Josh McDaniel, known scumbag. No one likes him. It's always crazy whenever you see someone from high school or two people from high school somehow get to the same position, and you wonder, like, oh, I wonder how. It's obvious how. You know, like, they're friends. People give their friends jobs, so, you know.
Cool experience, too, to do it together.
They were in lockstep with one another, and one of the big moves that they made was give Derek Carr a contract extension that had a 1 year out. This 1 year out was real sketchy, but they always maintain there's nothing to see here.
Spoiler, there was something to see here. And this is where I think there's a little bit of confusion, because the reaction I saw to this was, oh, we're just bringing in more people for Carr. We're just doing more for Derek Carr. We're not the Raiders. We're not this. We're not that. This isn't exactly the most pro Derek Carr move you could probably make. Davie Ziegler is one of the guys who orchestrated Derek Carr's out in Vegas. He's one of the guys who set up the contract, set up what would be a very messy end to Derek Carr's tenure in Las Vegas, an end that Derek Carr has been pretty vocal about being upset about. So this is not a heartwarming kind of gift to Derek Carr.
Contract was built and all those, different types of things. People can look into all those things and create different storylines. And the extension was longer than 1 year, and it was longer than 1 year for a reason.
Spoiler alert: it was not longer than 1 year.
After completely failing in 2022 with Derek Carr, and then failing in 2023 with quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, Davie Ziegler, the general manager, and Josh McDaniels were fired.
Yeah, Ziegler was there. It was it wasn't even 2 years. It was I believe it was I believe it was like 3 months-ish under 2 years, somewhere in there. Someone double check.
This was a moment when Derek Carr could have gloated, but in his reaction to their firing, he took the high road and expressed sympathy.
I just feel for them and their family. You know, I've been through it. This business is so tough that we forget the human side of things. You know, my heart.
Derek, we got to talk about the scissors accuracy on the sweatshirt. You know, like there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a ruler or a protractor or a compass or something that we can use to get even a semblance of order with the cuts.
Is for Josh and Dave, and I wish Dave and Josh the best, as they know, and I've told them, I wish them the absolute best. So
arguably the biggest move in Dave Ziegler and McDaniel's career was moving on from Derek Carr, and it backfired.
Your successor failed. Ultimately, it led to the firing of Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. And did you have a moment of just validation that you knew it was the wrong decision at the time?
I really didn't have a feeling like, told you, like any of that kind of stuff. I really didn't have those feelings. I actually remember sitting there talking to my wife. I was like, I actually feel bad for their family, because that sucks. It's tough.
What a guy, what a guy. Class act.
I've been there.
The Jimmy Garoppolo signing was a complete disaster, and after the fallout with the Raiders with McDaniels and Ziegler, Ziegler tried his best to distance himself from Josh McDaniels, even though this dude was one of his best friends going back to college and was someone that he was in lockstep with in making decisions. Through leaks to the media, Ziegler tried to save face and fluff his resume by dissing his homie, dissing his friend, saying, "Oh, I never..."
Yeah, I mean, you can see the track, right? Like, they're both in New England. Ziegler's player personnel, scouting, McDaniels, offensive coordinator side of things. McDaniels goes to the Raiders. Ziegler follows. Like, it all makes sense, right? Like, it all makes sense of how their career kind of combines there. So, this is interesting, though. This, talking about how, Ziegler's basically saying, like, he didn't want to sign Jimmy Garoppolo. He didn't want to make that. He's not shying away from the Derek Carr thing. But as far as like signing Garoppolo,
wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. I actually wanted to trade up to grab CJ Stroud, who everybody loves now. And it was just sort of lame to see this guy do this. Not only is he dissing his friend, but he's saying things that just don't seem true if you follow the Raiders over the past year and a half. Raiders owner Mark Davis strongly pushed back against some of these claims that Dave Ziegler was just hindered by Josh McDaniels and he's such a great guy who wanted to make all the greatest roster moves. He's basically pushing back against these alleged leaks by Dave Ziegler's camp. In an interview with The Athletic, Mark Davis said, "Lately, some articles have come out making it seem like the head coach had more authority on that, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. The general manager had final authority on all of it, whether he accepted that."
Yeah, I mean, if I had to trust Josh, Ziegler, or Mark Davis, I would trust Mark Davis.
Authority or not is a different story, but it was very clear when they were hired where the buck stopped. So Mark Davis was not letting Dave Ziegler get away with blaming everything on Josh McDaniels. He's essentially saying that this guy was the GM. He was responsible for the roster moves at the end of the day. Mark Davis's statement came around December 13th of 2023, trying to clap back at ridiculous articles like this that came out in November. Deep dive into how Dave Ziegler could have saved the Raiders.
Yeah, where's that article? DaveZiegler.com?
Despite the fact that things ended badly for Dave Ziegler, despite the fact that he essentially decided to move on from Derek Carr and try to upgrade at the quarterback position, Carr still maintained that he felt bad for them, and it seems like he knew all along that they would be in the NFL for some time.
And, I was in that moment, I just was like, I don't want to hurt any relationship. I don't want to say something stupid, you never know what the future holds.
At the end of the day, it's a business, and they know that. They'll be fine. They'll move on. They'll have jobs in this league for sure.
We know the NFL coaching and front office world is a small world. There's nepotism involved, and you gotta have a lot of experience to be in the big club. So it seems like Carr made the right move taking the high road because he knew that, hey, possibly in the future, he may cross paths.
Well, it's definitely the move. I mean, there's no reason. Carr gets nothing except personal satisfaction from doing the old told you so, or dancing on their grave. Like that's a very self-serving, short-term mindset. It's definitely better for Carr to just kind of take the high road, assuming that possibly they could work again sometime. So Yeah, good move by Carr.
With Dave Ziegler again, and now we're finding out that that is 100% happening right away in 2024. A new report has emerged by Jonathan Jones of CBS. This is official. Sources tell CBS Sports.
Okay, so this is the actual role Ziegler is going to be in, right? Ziegler is going to be in an advisory role through the NFL draft. He will be with the Saints, assisting them in college personnel or college player scouting, just scouting in general throughout the NFL draft. And he'll assist the Saints over the next 2 months. Cool. I love it. Like, this is great. I don't think there's any, again, it's really easy to see former Raiders GM. Oh, well, this is just, this is another one of Carr's guys. This is another Raider guy going to be pulling the strings, going to be making roster moves. Guys, he'll be here through the draft, right? He's going to be in an advisory role. He's going to be dealing with scouting players, kind of giving some ideas, something he did successfully in New England, something he did for a long time in New England. He was with New England for, 4 times the length that he was with the Raiders? But you don't really hear anybody say, oh, this is just another classic New England Patriots guy coming to the Saints, right? They just say the Raiders, even though he was there for less than 2 years. But we need this. Like, the Saints need new ideas when it comes to scouting and finding good players in the draft. The Saints have been terrible at that since Sean Payton left. And they weren't really that great at it when he was here. I mean, they had a couple of great draft classes, but overall, the Saints haven't been good when it comes to the scouting and finding these diamonds in the rough in the draft. So going and getting someone from the outside with new ideas, with new strategies, with new tactics or whatever to come in for a couple months right now, perfect time leading up to the draft to assist all these new coaches coming in, all these new people, kind of be a catalyst to bring everybody together and have some kind of plan for the scouting. I think it's great. I mean, I don't see any negative to this. I saw a comment. It was like, yeah, I mean, this is fine, but what if Ziegler starts to really make the moves, and what if he starts to really pull the strings? What in what universe? Like, that just goes to show, I think this gets a little overblown here. If he's here in an advisory role for a couple months, highlighting and focusing on the NFL draft, what strings do you think he's going to pull? What roster moves do you think he's going to pull? If he was been a successful scout and a successful, player personnel executive for a team that in that time period was really good, for the New England Patriots, who were known in finding those diamonds in the rough, were known for drafting players with immediate value, I'm all for it. I see no negative with this.
Former Raiders general manager Dave Ziegler is joining the New Orleans Saints in an advisory role through the 2024 draft. Ziegler will assist the Saints over the next 2 months. So this is not a permanent position for Dave Ziegler in the New Orleans Saints, but he is 100% officially going to be helping them and advising them in the 2024 draft. So oddly enough, even though the man moved on from Derek Carr basically in 2022, he is now linking back up with DC4, this time in New Orleans. Some people have joked around saying, hey, is he going to suggest that they go ahead and ditch Derek Carr? But no, that's not going to happen. The Saints.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's probably not going to have very much interaction with Derek Carr. He has nothing to do with the roster or any of that as far as like the roster that's already there. His whole role is to just scout, break down players, throw ideas off, bounce ideas off the wall, and get the decision makers, Dennis Allen and Clint Kubiak and Mickey Loomis, to get them ready for draft day. That's it. He's not going to be drafting. He's not going to be making the picks. He's not going to be moving the chess pieces. He's just going to be an advisor through this process, a process that he's very, very familiar with. Cool. He's not the GM. He's not usurping Mickey Loomis. He's strictly breaking down prospects.
Have actually recently, as of February 23rd, made a huge commitment to Derek Carr. He is going to be the franchise quarterback there all the way up till 2025. Let me break this down for you.
It's not even really that huge of a commitment, to be honest. I mean, the Derek Carr got signed. They restructured to basically keep Carr there for 2 seasons. Cool. Like, that's not that big of a deal. So even that isn't this huge, insane commitment. They went and got a franchise quarterback. They're going to see it out through most of the contract. We kind of expected that to happen anyways. I don't think anybody expected them to go get Derek Carr last year and then him to be one and done. So them restructuring his contract to help them out salary cap wise and to keep him around for another season or two, no big deal.
So the Saints need to open up some cap space. They restructured Derek Carr's contract. He was due $30 million in base salary. They converted that into a signing bonus. So the Saints freed up roughly $23 million by restructuring Carr. But here's the big thing that has a lot to say about the future, and it actually shows why the Saints are not going to be drafting a quarterback at pick number 14. Not only did they free up this cap space, but it raised his dead cap hit to $50 million in 2025. So they're fully committed to this guy for 2024 and 2025.
Yeah, it would have made no sense to draft a quarterback at 14. It makes no sense to draft a quarterback at 14. Some people really, really like the idea, but it's not going to happen. The timeline doesn't add up with the way that the roster is built. This would be the worst possible time to draft the next franchise quarterback. Next year or the year after, it could make sense because then Carr would be kind of winding down. You would take the quarterback, let him sit, be kind of a comfortable, slow development process. Like that makes more sense than now. So I've never bought the possibility of drafting a quarterback at 14. And I'd be absolutely stunned if that's going to happen.
Without a doubt, if they tried to move on from him, they would eat $50 million in dead money, which they cannot do. Actually, when you look at it a little closer, the Saints are pretty much committed to Derek Carr all the way to 2026. So you got 3 full years committed to this guy. The main reason is that the Saints, if they did decide to release Derek Carr in 2026, they would eat almost $60 million in dead money. So when it comes to evaluating the draft, I highly doubt that Davie Ziegler is going to be giving some tips at what to do at the quarterback position. In a lot of ways, it does make sense for the Saints to hire Davie Ziegler for this advisory role.
I mean, exactly, and that's kind of the point. Like we're 7 minutes in, but that's the main point of this is that this does make sense. This is not a big deal. It makes sense. It's fine. Ziegler is in an advisory role, a role that he's been successful at, a role that the Saints need help with. The Saints have new coaches coming in. They are already committed to this idea of new ideas and new, outside voices. So bring them in. Fine. I really think it's a positive across the board with no risk at all. No negative impact whatsoever.
Because the Saints are picking at pick number 14, right behind the Las Vegas Raiders. Davie Ziegler, when you think about it, was preparing to draft in 2024 before being fired on Halloween. So they're going to be able to peep at this guy's draft board and know what he was planning to do while picking at roughly the same spot. The Saints only have 4 draft picks. Maybe they will trade back. Maybe they'll trade some players to get some more picks, but they got a first rounder, a second rounder, a 5th, 6th, and 7th. And I believe the Saints are going to draft mainly on the defensive side of the football and also the offensive line. Davie Ziegler has done a decent job drafting offensive linemen. In terms of the Raiders, he hasn't been too spectacular on the defensive side of the football, but the guy has tons of experience. It's another general manager, a dude who was supposed to be.
Well, again, he's not making the pick. That's something else. You got to separate that from his ability to scout or his ability to break down players. They're not asking him to make the pick. They're not asking him to be the final authority. They're asking him to just give insight. That's it. And a lot of the times, people are good at that, and they're not good at being the final authority. They're good at kind of being an ideas guy or but they need that. They need a filter to that final level. That happens all the time. Ziegler might just be an ideas guy. So where he's the guy throwing the ideas out there, getting innovative, whatever, probably shouldn't be the guy making the final decision, but could be a great voice in the room.
Be employed in 2024, so it could only help the Saints organization. I just overall find this story absolutely hilarious that they're already crossing paths. The only thing that could make this maybe funnier is if Josh McDaniels became the offensive coordinator for the Saints instead of Clint Kubiak. That would have been the most hilarious thing in the world. So another former Raider is joining the New Orleans Saints. They already have Jonathan Abram. Dennis Allen is the former Raiders head coach. They also have Foster Moreau at tight end. The only other former Raider the Saints need right now is Mr. Hunter Renfrow.
And man, there was a lot of talk of Hunter Renfrow possibly joining the Saints, but there's a lot. This was last year. There was a lot of talk of bringing in Renfrow. But again, like Ziegler, yeah, he was with the Raiders, but you don't hear them saying like they're bringing in another Patriots exec, right? Because you could easily say that with how long he was there.
A wide receiver in Vegas currently and on the block, Dave Ziegler needs to hit up the Raiders and help make this happen. If you're still watching at this point,
solid, good video, enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. I don't think this is a big deal. I mean, I really don't. You know, again, guys, we're talking about a guy who's going to be in an advisory role for a couple of months to help out with the NFL draft. That's it. He's not making major roster moves. He's not restructuring contracts. He's not the next Mickey Loomis. So any fears you have about this, I would put away. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal at all. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.